Hi there, I'm Jessica and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are making the Fundamental Tote by JoLeeLee Creations. Oh my gosh, I love it. It came out so good. This is a pattern that is for everyone. If you are a beginner, it is for you. If you are someone who is an expert or intermediate, it's for you. You could do a lot with this. You could do an embroidery panel. You could do a panel. You could do what I have done. You could literally do anything you want. It is like a blank canvas for you to play around with. You can add zippers. You can add slip pockets. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. This is so good. Thank you so much to Leslie from JoLeeLee Creations for allowing us to use your pattern in our marathon today. I will have the link to this pattern in the description, and also, as much as I can, remember to place everything down below on what I've used here. I know that these strap anchors have come from Sewciety, but anyways, it's good. I love it. It's just so good, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, I know. I need to stop, right? Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us today on the sewing marathon, and I hope you'll join along with everyone else today. We are all looking forward to seeing what everyone has created with this pattern. So join us today. We'll have fun. We'll be able to chat. All right. Go ahead and grab your supplies if you want to make this or not. Totally up to you. But let's hang out. All right. Subscribe to my channel, please, and like it. But really, you guys pick this up. All right. Let's get into making the Fundamental Tote. Okay, let's go ahead and go over the pattern pieces. The first pattern pieces I'll go over are going to be the main body, and I'm doing a center piece for mine. So for that, I'm going to need 2 cuts for my center piece. I went ahead and lined it with woven interfacing, SF101, and then I have Decaville Light on the center. I kept the Decaville Light out of the seam allowance, and then you'll need 4 sides. So you'll need 2 sides for the right, and then you'll need 2 sides for the left. You're going to need 2 cuts for your strap. You've got 2 main pieces for your lining. Got 2 cuts. Isn't that pretty? I got it from Wonderground Fabrics so long ago. I have no idea if they have this anymore. I've just been hoarding it. And then we have our zipper overlay. And then I've got my 2 cuts for my zipper pocket. I will not be doing a slip pocket, but if you are doing that option, you'll need a slip pocket 1 cut, and then you'll need to have your slip pocket accent. And then I'm going to be using these strap connectors. They're from Sewciety. I'm going to be using fusible Peltex on the back of these to add some security, to make sure these do not come through at some point. We don't want that to happen, so make sure if you're using strap connectors that you have some kind of interfacing behind that. And then we've got a number 5 zipper, and then I'm using a number 5 zipper pull, which is the poisonous apple. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. And then I'll be using this woven label. I'll be putting that with the zipper overlay. It says made for the fairest of them all. And then I've got my cork label, which is from the Heartwood and Hide. I will also be using some rivets to secure my straps. You'll need your general sewing tools like some double-sided tape and some scissors and rulers and marking tools, clips, all that good stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start off with my straps. So we've got 2 cuts for that. I went ahead and made a center mark down both of my straps here, and I went ahead and added double-sided tape on the raw edges, the long edges of the strap. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper, and I'm going to bring the raw edges to meet the center line on both sides. Okay, so now that we've got the raw edges brought to the center, we are going to just take them and just simply fold them in half. I'm going to use some clips for this to hold them together. Some people like to use double-sided tape, but I'm just going to go ahead and grab a ton of clips for this. So now that I have my straps clipped together, I'm going to go ahead and start sewing down each long edge at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I will start sewing on the edge that's clipped where we have folded these edges together. Right, so I have my 2 straps stitched and ready for installation. I'm going to go ahead and set that to the side, and now I'm going to go ahead and work on my main exterior panels. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one center piece, one right side piece, and then one left side piece, and I'm going to set the other ones to the side for now. I'm going to have my center piece right side up, and I'm going to go ahead and take my left side piece and place it right sides down right on top of that center piece, and I'm going to clip along those edges. I'm going to go ahead and sew down this edge where my clips are. I created my own seam allowance with this. I wanted to make sure that when I sewed these panels all together, that this whole thing measures the exact measurement for that front panel. Okay, so I made it to where my seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. And hopefully my mathematics works out, so we'll find out. I'm going to go ahead and sew this down. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over so that the seam allowance is going to be behind that center piece. So I want the vinyl piece that I'm using, everything to be behind that center piece, and I'm going to stitch along the seam on my center piece here, okay? And that's going to be at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so we have one side. I'm going to leave this right side up, and I'm going to take the right side of my exterior panel and place it right side down and clip along those edges. And then I'm going to sew that again at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing and make sure that the seam allowance is behind my center piece, and then top stitch at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, well, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing for the other side. All right, so I've got both of my exterior main panels completed. I love that. That looks really good. We are going to go ahead and make some measurements on the exterior of our panels. This is so that we can connect our strap connector hardware, and then also some other measurements for whenever we drop in our lining. So you want to pay attention to the measurements in the pattern. So the back of your panel should look something like this. You've got 2 lines at the top that are vertical, and then you have your center mark line, and then you have these marks here, which is going to help you place your if you are using the strap connector hardware. So hopefully that works out on here. It should look pretty good. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install my strap connectors. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 4 of the connectors along with the brackets. And then I need to go ahead and place my stabilizer on here as well. That will protect it from coming through later on. All right, so I went ahead and added my Peltex here. All of my lines kind of disappeared, but I can still see them. They're kind of white. You may not be able to see them, but I can see them. I also made my center line in the middle of my interfacing just because I want to make sure that I do have them centered correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and put one of these to the side for now. I grabbed a craft knife and then a cutting mat. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my washers or bracket, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to lay this right down the center of that line. Let me lift this up here so you can see. So I'm basically going to take this top edge of the bracket and line it up at the very top edge where we have our line marked up there. So my edge is lined up right along the marks that we've created. So I'm going to place this right there and make sure it's in the center as best as I can. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a marking tool, and I'm going to place a mark on number 2 and then number 5. I think it's number 5. Just kidding. I'm going to make a mark on number 2 and then the very last hole in the bracket. Okay, so it should look like this. My Peltex is about to come off. That's fine. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on all 4 of my stabilizers. So I am going to take my craft knife. If you have one of those stiletto, surgical stilettos, you can use that if you want to. I have one of those, but I'm terrified to use it. So I'm just going to very carefully take my craft knife and just cut into the slits. And you would rather have them small and not large. So try not to overcut that. And I'm going to go ahead and do that on all slits. Okay, so now I've got all my holes, okay? And it's okay if the stabilizer comes off, not a big deal. We're going to tape it and put our prongs and everything in anyway, so don't worry about that. So make sure you do have your holes through the exterior part as well. And we're going to go ahead and take our connector and place it through the front, through the holes that we've created. So it looks like this. Your strap connector should be facing the top of your exterior. I'm going to turn this around so your prongs should be through the holes, like so. I'm going to take the stabilizer and I'm going to place this in the holes that we've created here, okay? And then I'm going to take one of our washers, or you can call this a bracket if you like, and I'm going to place it in the 2nd and that 5th hole that we have there. I'm going to place those brackets to the center, like so, okay? So that's the front, and then when you turn it around, this is the back. I am going to grab some duct tape, a pretty large size. I want to make sure to cover this whole area. This protects it so that the prongs don't come through. You can use Gorilla Tape, any kind of really sturdy, thick tape here. So I'll go ahead and place this right on top of this and push it down so it looks like this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that for the next 3 strap connectors. All right, the first panel with our strap connectors have been installed. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side and repeat that for my next exterior. All right, so I've got both of my panels done with those strap connectors, and I went ahead and installed my label here on the front. Well, I don't know if this is a front panel or the back panel, but my strap connectors are now completed. So I think the next step is to start working on lining, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and work on my exterior pieces. So I'm just gonna take my exterior pieces and line them right sides together. And I'm going to clip the bottom, and I'm gonna sew the bottom together at the seam allowance that's given in the pattern. I'm going to go ahead and take this and open up my exterior, and we're going to open the seam down at the bottom, and then we're going to top stitch the bottom with our seams open. So you want to top stitch it so that you are stitching on each side of that seam here at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Oh my gosh, that looks good. And I have to tell you, my seams match up pretty perfectly right there. That never happens for me. I'm gonna take it as a win here. All right, now I'm going to take my sides and I'm going to clip my edges here on both sides. So now I have the sides clipped together on both of my sides here. I am going to sew both sides together at the seam allowance that is given in the, okay, so now I have the exterior panel sewn together. What we're going to do now is go ahead and box up our corners. We are going to match the raw edges and line up those bottom seams. So I'm going to open my seams here. I know the one on the bottom is already open, but you just want to get this as straight as possible. And you want to match up your seams as best as you can. It's best to open this up as wide as you can. And then match this up. I'm going to clip this together. Well, that looks pretty good, pretty straight. So I'll go ahead and clip that down. I do like to clip my sides as well, just to help keep that open. All right, so there we go. That's what that is looking like. And then there's the other side. So this is open down here. You can use some double-sided tape to open that even more if you'd like to. I'm just going to leave that be and make sure it's open when I sew it over. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. All right, so this is all done on this side. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew my box corners down at the seam allowances given in the pattern. Since I'm using vinyl, I do like to do 2 rows of stitching. I'll do the one at the seam allowance, and then I'll do one just inside of that seam allowance, just to make sure that those stitches don't show on the exterior and also relieve some pressure from the first row of stitches. All right, so my corners are now sewn down. I am going to go ahead and grab some scissors and just trim that seam just a little bit. Trimming that down will help reduce the bulk in that area. That looks so cute in there. All right. So the exterior is all done for now. We're going to go ahead and start working on our lining. I will only be grabbing the lining panel that is my zipper panel. I will grab the zipper overlay and my woven label, my lining pieces, for the pocket. And then I need to grab the zipper and my zipper pull. I'm gonna go ahead and add the zipper to my zipper pull. Make sure you singe the ends of your zipper. That looks pretty good. Right now we should grab some double-sided tape and then our zipper overlay. And I'm gonna go ahead and apply the double-sided tape right in the center. That way I'm not sewing on it. Do you see? I have it right in the center there. I'm gonna do it on, I'll do that on both sides. I will grab my zipper lining panel. I already have a measurement here that's listed in the pattern. This is where we will be placing the zipper overlay. So right now I do need to find my center marks. So if you haven't made your center marks, you'll definitely want to do that. I am gonna grab a ruler and a chalk pencil now and just make a line where the center would be, like a intersection, I guess you'd say. Just right here. Okay. That way we don't have this crooked, and we can make it as straight as possible. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tape from my zipper overlay. I'll go ahead and start with the top first. I just want to make sure that I have this centered and right where I want it along that line that we made earlier. There we go. And then I will remove the paper from the bottom. All right. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew around the entire perimeter on the top only. Not the top, but around the edge only at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So don't sew the inside because that's where we're going to cut this open and apply our zipper. I almost forgot as I'm sewing down my zipper overlay that I need to place this right underneath my zipper overlay, and I'll be putting it underneath on the left side. Thank goodness I remembered because I'm really terrible at remembering to use these woven labels. All right, so I've got the zipper lay attached with my cute little woven label. That looks really good. Now what you want to do is grab some really sharp scissors and we're going to carefully trim the fabric behind your zipper overlay. This doesn't have to be pretty. No one is going to see this. You do want to make sure that you do not cut your zipper overlay on accident or cut through stitches. So I like to come right in the center of that fabric that is underneath your zipper overlay and just come in. Just very carefully go underneath the zipper overlay. I'm going to come from this side now and just feel with my fingers where my zipper overlay is because you don't want to cut that. So I do like to put this down. I've got the lining right side down and I'm kind of lifting the lining from the tape that we have down there, and I'm just going to carefully trim around this fabric, just cutting it out right along where the stitches are, just very carefully. Okay, so this is now trimmed. It doesn't look pretty. It's fine, and I still have some double-sided tape that's kind of sticking here, so that'll help with the zipper whenever we get to that. I'm gonna go ahead and set this to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my zipper and my my zipper lining. All right, this bright green fabric is Thertex. It is from Fabric Therapy. So we're going to go ahead and lay our zipper tape and our zipper lining panel right side up. We're going to place the zipper tape on the lining panel. We are going to match up those top edges, okay, and go ahead and clip. And I have my zipper longer than it needs to be. I do that on purpose. Just clip along that top edge. If you prefer to use double-sided tape, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this down at the seam allowance given in the pattern. You want to make sure to move the zipper pull out of the way. All right, I've got that stitched down. Now what we're going to do is grab your other zipper lining piece, and I'm going to go ahead and lie this right side up, and then your other side of your zipper is going to go right side up as well, just like we did over here. And because my zipper is longer than it needs to be, I just want to make sure that I match up the edges of my zipper panels to make sure that they do end up at the right size, or at least line up with each other. All right, so I've got this clipped on. It'll look like this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that down at the seam allowance given in the pattern. Okay, so this is what we've got here. I'm going to go ahead and apply some double-sided tape on the top edge and the bottom edge of this zipper tape. All right, so I've got my double-sided tape applied on the edges of my zipper tape. I'm going to go ahead and grab my lining panel with our zipper overlay. And we're going to lay this where it is, we want this to be right side up. You want to have it to where your zipper is closing to the left. If you prefer it the other direction, then you can do that. We're going to center this as best as we can. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with that top and remove the paper. All right, I finally have the top where I want it. I ended up bringing the lining piece down. That was a lot easier to do. So the top looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper from the bottom and just flip this on the opposite direction so that it's easier to apply. All right, so I finally got the zipper where I want it. We are going to flip our lining pieces so that it is at the top of our lining exterior, or not exterior, but at the top of our lining. And we are going to start by stitching 1/8 of an inch right below the zipper on our zipper overlay. Don't go all the way around. You just want to do the bottom only. Make sure you move the zipper pull out of the way as you stitch. I am pulling the thread to the back and tying them in triple knots when I do this. I will trim the tails and then singe the little tails. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and flip your lining pieces down so that it's all facing the bottom of your lining piece, and we are going to go ahead and stitch all 3 remaining sides, okay? All right, so now you're going to go ahead and grab your scissors, and we're just going to trim it so that our lining pieces are lining up with one another. So with our lining right side up now, we're going to go ahead and stitch. Got some double-sided tape here. We are going to go ahead and stitch our pocket closed. So I will be starting on the right side, and you're going to come and close this up on the right, and then you'll go across the bottom and you're going to go back up to the left, okay? All right, so now you're gonna go ahead and grab your scissors again, and we are going to trim our zippers down, and also you can trim your lining edges down if you'd like to. I will also be singeing that zipper tape just because I do not want it to fray at any time, so I will do that. That looks pretty good. I love the green lining pocket. I wish I had a bright green zipper. I don't, unfortunately. I need to order some. So if anybody has recommendations on where to get some neon green zipper tape, please let me know. I would appreciate that. All right, so I am not doing the slip pocket on the other lining panel. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab my other main lining panel. I'm gonna go ahead and place these right sides together. We're gonna start by sewing the bottom together. So I'll clip the bottom, and we are going to sew this down at the seam allowance given in the pattern. All right, so we are going to go ahead and open our lining panels. We're going to press our seams open. If you're using cotton like I am, you're welcome to grab an iron and press this if you'd like to. I'm just going to finger press this right now, and then I will flip this over. Okay, so we'll sew down each side of the seam allowance at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so we've got the lining bottom sewn together, top stitch at the bottom with the seam allowance, the seam open. Now we're gonna go ahead and place our lining right sides together. We're going to clip the sides, and then we will sew our sides down at the seam allowance given in the pattern. All right, so we've got our lining pieces sewn together. We are now going to box the corners of our lining. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the exterior and open up those seams. And make sure you get the seams lined up, and then getting this as straight as possible. There we go. Go ahead and clip this together. I'll do the same thing that I did with the exterior, where I do like to clip the sides down just to keep it open. And when you sew this, you want to make sure that your seams here remain open. Just like that bottom seam is open, you want to make sure that's open as you sew over that. So you'll go ahead and box that other corner the same way. Okay, let's go ahead and sew this at the seam allowance given in the pattern. So with the lining, you can go ahead and trim down the side, but you want to leave with the marks that you have up here, this one, that first stitch line, you want to leave this alone. So don't trim this seam allowance right here within this measurement, okay? But you can trim the rest down if you'd like. Okay, so I've trimmed down the sides, and that's what it should look like. Okay, so both sides right there. We're leaving this seam open. That's gonna help us when we do our drop-in lining. You're gonna grab some double-sided tape, and we are going to line the top edge of our lining on the back side with double-sided tape. When you get to your seams, you want to open those up and place your double-sided tape right over those seams, okay? So all along the top perimeter of the top edge of your lining piece. Okay. I've got the whole top lining backside taped with double-sided tape. We're gonna go ahead and set this to the side and do the exact same thing with the exterior, okay? So make sure you open the seams on the side and add your double-sided tape right along the top edge of the perimeter of the exterior. Now what we're gonna do is remove the tape slowly and fold down our edge, the top edge, to meet this first line that we drew here. So it's gonna fold over like this, okay? That edge should be meeting that line, that first line that you drew earlier. I am also going to grab a ton of clips and clip all along this top edge. Okay, so the exterior is folded down, and then I've got my clips here. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to my lining. All right, so I've got my exterior right side out, and then my lining is wrong side out. Make sure that you mark your center marks on the top of your lining and also on your exterior. And what you're going to do is you're going to place the lining inside of the exterior. So your lining wrong side out and your exterior is right side out. And you want to match up all of your centers. And you can decide if you want your slip pocket, wherever you want your slip pocket or your zipper pocket to be. I'm gonna have the zipper pocket be on this side of my bag here, so I'm just gonna stuff this in here. Make sure that my lining is down. All right, and then we're going to line up your center marks and clip that top edge. Okay, so I went ahead and attached my lining. I clipped it into place so that the lining and the exterior are together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch around the top perimeter. We're going to do an quarter, not a quarter, an eighth of an inch seam allowance. All right, so we've got that to do, and then the only thing left to do is just add our straps and then rivet them down, and that's it. That's looking really good. Oh my gosh, isn't that so cute? The lining fits inside perfectly. There's no bagginess, nothing. It's fantastic. I do need to iron this cotton part again though, because it's gotten wrinkled and everything, but that's fine. All right, now all that's left is to go ahead and do our straps. Okay, so now we are going to add our straps. I have this tool from JoLeeLee Creations. It's really cool. I'm going to show you how I use this. I don't know if you can see this. It's probably hard for you to see, but there's A, B, and C. So 3 holes, A, B, and C. And basically what I'm going to do is line up the edge of this ruler. I'm going to make sure it's centered. She's got all the lines here so you can have everything centered. And I'm going to mark placement on the hole for C and the hole for A. Whoops. And this is what it looks like. We'll punch holes in here, and once you thread it through your strap connector, it will line up perfectly. All right, so I will go ahead and do that on all 4 of my strap edges here, and I will go ahead and add my holes and thread them through my strap connectors and go ahead and put in my rivets. All right, okay, so I've got my rivets. I'm going to go ahead and thread the raw end all the way through. I'm going to take my post and put it through that hole and then the other hole, and go ahead and put my cap end on, snap it into place, and make sure the strap is straight before you thread it through the other side. You don't want it to be twisted. There we go, that looks good. I don't have the strap ends for this size of a strap, so I'm just gonna leave the edges raw. This one is broken. Okay. Sometimes the caps get broken, I guess. Let's try another one. All right, that one's good. So I'll go ahead and grab the other one. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna go to the rivet press and get all these rivets pressed. Well, how about that? Oh my goodness. It's just so cute. This is so good. This pattern is so good. Oh, thank you so much to Leslie from JoLeeLee Creations for allowing us to use your pattern in today's sewing marathon. I really hope you guys grab the pattern and make this and tag us all. We would all love to see your creation. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. And if you could please subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you could also give it a like. Next up is Kathy from Kato Handmade, and she's got a good one. So thank you so much again for joining me. You guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.